A few weeks ago, I got hypnotized. Yes, you heard me correctly. I voluntarily underwent hypnosis in order to connect with my higher self, learn about my past lives, connect with interdimensional beings, higher consciousness, and so much more. In this video, I'm going to share everything you need to know about undergoing hypnosis. So if you're someone who's interested in having your own journey, you'll have all the information you need to make an informed decision and hopefully have a transformational healing experience like I did. And if you're someone who's just here for the vibes and you're like, there's no way in hell I'd let somebody hypnotize me, I respect that too. Either way, I'm happy you're here and stick around because it's going to be a really fun, really strange video. Now you might be wondering, why would anyone choose to go under hypnosis? And that's a great question. So hypnosis can be a really good tool to learn more about yourself and your subconscious mind, limiting beliefs. You can also learn more about your life's purpose and connect to higher consciousness, so your higher self, other interdimensional beings like I mentioned earlier. And also on a more 3D level, I kind of wanted to know how to make more money with ease. I'm a life path 8 and a Leo. Financial freedom and abundance is very important to me. And y'all know I'm always trying something new anyway. I meditated on it, it felt right, so I said, hey, why not? So first things first, all hypnosis is not created equal. The facilitator or person putting you under hypnosis matters a lot. I feel like most of us have seen the movie Get Out, and if you haven't, I wouldn't recommend going to watch it before your hypnosis. It just won't. I don't think it'll be helpful. If you've watched some of my other videos or my videos on TikTok, then you know I'm always preaching discernment, discernment, discernment. Doing your research, tuning into your intuition, and trusting your discernment is so important because you're dealing with consent. You know, you're giving someone your consent to help put you into this relaxing state where they can ask questions to your subconscious mind. And you'll be discussing sensitive topics. Depending on what you want to ask, it might be sensitive to you. For this entire process to be successful, you kind of need to relax and go with the flow. So it's a lot easier to do that when you trust the person who is facilitating the experience. Lucky for me, or not lucky because I don't believe in luck, I believe in divine orchestration. The person who facilitated my hypnosis session was actually a good friend of mine, Jen, or JK Ultra. I'll link her info below in case any of you are interested in connecting with her. She's pretty poppin' though, you might have already heard of her. I felt super safe and comfortable with her, and I was able to let my guard down and really surrender to the experience. So the facilitator matters and the technique matters. Now there are various hypnosis techniques. My first encounter with hypnosis was actually in Vegas years ago. My mom gave me and my friend some tickets to a hypnotist show. I want to say the guy's name was like Mark something. I'm gonna put it Mark Savard. Where did I just pull that from? Out of the ether. I think his name was Mark Savard. And he was doing like a hypnosis show on stage. We all thought it was a joke, like we really didn't believe in it, but it was a free show, so who doesn't like free? So we went. Some of my friends actually ended up volunteering to go on stage, kind of because they wanted to prove hypnosis wasn't real and that his whole show was a sham. It was not. They ended up getting hypnotized and doing some pretty embarrassing things that they would never do. Like, it was just so out of character. So that experience definitely made me a believer. And this was long before my spiritual awakening. So I didn't even think things like that were possible. Fast forward to many years later, and now I'm getting hypnotized, but in a totally different environment and with different intentions. So like I said, there are a ton of different techniques out there, but one that's very popular within these spiritual conscious circles is called QHHT. QHHT stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis. Yes, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And it was developed by Dolores Cannon in the 60s going into the 80s. If you're not familiar with Dolores Cannon, she did a lot of work in the field of hypnosis and focused a lot on past life regressions and ET encounters. She has a ton of books, you can look them up. But anyway, she developed this technique called QHHT that a lot of people have adopted, and it's very successful. The goal of a QHHT session is to access the subconscious mind for self-healing. So you may uncover past life insights, gain higher knowledge, and support spiritual awakening. Now I should add that the style I did was not exactly QHHT, but it was very similar. Jen's technique is called a soul journey hypnosis, and the main difference is that the session can be conducted remotely. From what I understand and the research I've done, QHHT sessions were not created to be done remotely. Now remember, QHHT is a very specific modality and there are certifications involved. So they have a very clear set of rules and requirements that they expect all of their practitioners to follow. And one of their guidelines is that they don't want it to be done remotely. Now, Jen did undergo QHHT training. She's certified, but because she does it remotely, she doesn't call it that, just to respect their wishes. Now, I don't want this video to get too long because we have a lot of fun stuff to cover, but I will quickly go over some of the reasons that they don't want it done in person, and then you can decide if it resonates with you or if you're like me and you'd be okay selecting a practitioner that does it over Zoom or remotely. And I'll be reading from QHHTofficial.com. The first reason is that a huge amount of trust is necessary to get clients into the theta state and the deepest level of trance necessary to connect to the subconscious for information and healing. Such trust can only be established during an in-person interview. Totally respect what they have to say. Again, it was a little different for me because I already trusted Jen. She was my friend. And I don't know that trust can only be established during an in-person, but if that resonates with you, that's totally fine. The second reason is that a client must be located close to the practitioner in order for the practitioner to observe body signs, which let them know that the client is fully under and ready to connect. Again, that didn't seem to be an issue for us. We were on Zoom, we had the cameras, so I feel like Jen could pick up on any body movements. Although I did have on an eye mask, and she kind of said that if we were doing QHHT by the book, probably wouldn't have been able to use the eye mask because I think you're supposed to look at little subtle eye movements and things like that. But I was more comfortable with my eye mask. That's the way I meditate. That's what I prefer. So again, I loved it. And number 3, the most important reason is that internet connections can be interrupted. We simply can't risk leaving a client in a state of hypnosis without a way to properly count them out and end the session. Sounds valid to me. Luckily, my internet was fine. I set up protections before the session. We were all good, but that does sound like a reasonable, rule to have. Okay, so before the day of your session, you get a whole packet of information. What to expect, how to prepare, and it can take anywhere from 4 to 8 hours, which is a pretty big time commitment. But honestly, for me, the time flew by. I mean, you're under hypnosis for most of it, so what is time anyway? Okay, so you have all your information, and one of the things Jen asks you to do is prepare 15 to 20 questions. These are questions she's going to ask your subconscious mind during the hypnosis. And what I love about Jen's technique is that she gives you a list of sample questions to kind of get your mind going. I'm not going to lie, I definitely took a bunch of those sample questions because, they worked. Here are some of them. What is my soul's purpose in this current lifetime? What is my ideal career or life path? Can you reveal my ET lineage? What beings am I connected to and how do they influence my journey? Are there any energetic imbalances in my body? If so, where? What is the root cause of my current health issues? Are there any soul contracts I need to be aware of? What is the meaning behind my recurring dreams? During my near-death experience, what realm did I visit? Are there any spirit guides or ascended masters that I should connect with? So as you can see, these questions cover a wide range of topics, and you can add in your own and be as specific or as general as you want. It's pretty cool. Okay, so enough of the background. Let's get to the actual session. So like I said, we were on Zoom, so I got to be in the comfort of my own home. I actually set up my laptop in my bedroom, laid down on my bed, put my eye mask on, very chill. So since it was my first session, we went over my life story. Basically, I talked her through what I felt were important moments in my life, childhood experiences, my career path, important relationships, important decisions. If my life was a movie, this would have been the 45-minute version. After that, we took about a 10-minute break. I got up, got some water, went to the bathroom, and then the hypnosis began. So I'm laying down in the bed, got my eye mask on, and Jen starts the induction. The induction is basically a guided meditation that helps you enter a relaxed brainwave state. I want to say it's theta brainwaves. Don't quote me. But in this state, your conscious mind takes a back seat, making it easier to connect with your higher self and your subconscious mind. One of the most common questions I got on my TikTok video was I consciously aware of what was going on? And the answer is yes and no. I wasn't completely out of it, but it was more like I was in a dream state and kind of observing things from afar. I'm thankful we had a video recording and an audio recording because there were a lot of moments that I needed to go back and watch. And it was almost like I was hearing it for the first time or hearing it for the first time clearly. Also, there's a lot of information in the session, so I feel like a lot of it I just forgot. Okay, so my eyes are closed, and the first thing I come across is this void. And it's just like a dark black void. Nothing scary, just nothingness. And I look around and I start seeing these different beings just walking around, going about their day, running their errands. Now, keep in mind, I have some version of aphantasia, so I don't see pictures and images very vividly and detailed in my mind. Most of what I describe as seeing is actually more of a knowing, if that makes sense. Anyway, I sense these beings, and like I said, they don't notice me. It's almost like I'm invisible and just observing them, and they seem pretty nice, non-threatening, and they're definitely alien. So I'm describing to Jen what I see, and then she asks me if any of them notice me. And as soon as she says that, it's like one of them turns and looks at me, and I'm like, oh, hello. Yes, now that you mention it, they do notice me. And Jen's like, great, wonderful. Her voice is so soothing, so she just keeps you relaxed the whole time. And she's like, great, can you ask the being if it's all right if we ask them questions? And so I do, and the being says it would like us to introduce ourselves. So I mentally introduce us, and then he welcomes us, and he says he knew we were coming. And then he identifies himself as an arcturian. And if you follow me on TikTok, then you know I have a connection with the arcturians. I won't get into too much of it here, but I've had quite a few contact experiences, nothing physical, thank God. So I'm familiar with their energy, and it is very loving. I only said thank God about the physical part because I'm not really trying to do all that. I'm all down for telepathy and downloads and receiving the energy. I don't need you to pop up in my living room. Let's not do that. So Jen asks if the arcturian would like to share any information with us. And he says yes, about our planet Earth. And he wants to talk about the direction it's headed. Then he starts to leave. And I'm like, okay, I guess we're following him. And so we follow him into the stars. At least I think we're in the stars, but we're actually in a spaceship is what he's revealing to me. And it's just like, not what I would picture a spaceship to be. Basically everything, the walls and the windows of the ship are all invisible. So we're inside and it just looks like we're surrounded by the stars, but actually we're in a ship. Pretty cool technology. Jen did ask a few questions about the ship, and he said it was crystal technology, which I thought was cool because, I love my crystals. I own a crystal shop. Okay, so we're on the spaceship, and Jen is like, where are we going? And the Arcturian says, well, where do you want to go? And she's like, where would be a beneficial place for Colby to go? Great question. And he says, to the past of Earth. And then he takes us to Atlantis. Mind you, I don't know much about Atlantean lore. It's not something I've looked much into. I knew it was an ancient civilization. I know that they used to work with crystal technology, again, because I'm interested in crystals. But aside from that, I don't know much about the story. So when the Arcturian is communicating, it's not like he's saying actual words. It's almost like blocks of thought are being downloaded into my mind. If you've ever channeled before, you might understand what I'm saying. It's just like I'm getting one big block of thought, then I have to figure out how to translate it into words. So there was a block of thought transmitted that said, you are in Atlantis, and my mind recognized it as such. So we arrive in Atlantis, and the scene is just straight up destruction. It's chaos. It's a lot going on. And he says, oh, we're here too late. We need to go back earlier. So we keep going backwards in time, and we get to a very beautiful place. It's still Atlantis, but it's just beautiful, I guess, at its height, at its peak. And at this point, the Arcturian asks if he can speak through me. We had kind of been going back and forth with Jen saying, can you ask him this? And then I'm saying, yes, I can ask him. So he was just asking, can we cut out the middleman, me, so we can get the answers a little quicker, which honestly, I appreciate it. I'm all about efficiency. Now, if you would have told me a few years ago that I would be channeling an ET, I would have told you to see a doctor. But after everything I've experienced over the last few years, this doesn't even sound weird to me. I was just like, yeah, of course, this is normal. Also, keep in mind, I'm using my discernment. I'd done a ton of meditations before. I set up protection. So I didn't just go into this super open, because I do think there can be a such thing as being too open. I went in with clear intentions of only connecting with beings of love and light. So there was no fear. I wasn't on the frequency of fear, so I knew I wouldn't attract or receive any information on that frequency. It's not where I was at. So I said all that to say, I channeled that arcturian. One wild thing is that when I watched the footage back of this portion, I was very still when I was channeling the arcturian. You see how most of this video I've been talking with my hands? I think it's called gesticulating. So during the hypnosis, when I was just my subconscious mind, my body was pretty still, but I did kind of move my hands a little bit. I guess it's just in my nature. When that arcturian came in, it was very still. It was kind of like, ooh, I got chills watching it back. So the arcturian explains that he brought us back to Atlantis to show us that the destruction was preventable, and that it was preventable through a consciousness shift. And basically what ended up happening is that there was a split and parallel timelines emerged. And some humans did make a successful consciousness shift to a higher consciousness, and others did not. I wish I had different words, but I hope you're hearing just the words and no judgment in them. Like, ascension does not mean better than anyone else. It just is a difference in frequency and consciousness and vibration. And many of those who ascended chose to reincarnate to Earth at this time to help prevent another destruction. That could be some of you watching this video. Now, the arcturian was very clear. This is not something we need to be afraid of. He was just bringing awareness. He also said that this would be an individual and collective choice, and that if you want to miss the timeline of destruction, then evolve in consciousness and move towards love. And it's so simple. You just choose love as often as possible through your thoughts, your words, and your deeds. The arcturian also confirms some personal things for me, like that I'm their family and that I had a past life or past lives on Arcturus. They said I was a scientist there. Very intelligent. They didn't say that part. They just said I was a scientist. They didn't really explain what I was doing as a scientist. They said there was no direct comparison on Earth. Sounds very advanced to me. They also mentioned that I was here to help bring the crystal technology to Earth. I know this sounds like I just think so highly of myself, but I didn't say it, the arcturian did. But he told us that this would happen over many lifetimes, and that in this lifetime I would be connected to some people that are working on the crystal technology. So if you're watching this video and you or someone you know are working on this crystal technology, tell them to hit me up. The arcturians want us to link. Another thing I thought was cool is that Jen asked, hey, what do you know about Colby? What else can you tell us about her that might be beneficial? And he was kind of like, I don't know her like that. He just gave us one of those answers like, I don't know her in that capacity. And then he explained that this was his job. He's basically like an interdimensional greeter. He described himself as a facilitator or a bridge. So he was saying he doesn't know me personally. He just kind of has this job where he comes and greets people who come to a certain frequency. And he said that anyone can come to this place. This video is getting a little longer than I thought it would be, so I'm going to make a part 2. We'll talk about reptilians, dragons, angels, ascended masters, spiritual discernment, the importance of Earth, some of the more practical insights, and of course we'll hear more from our friend the arcturian. I do have clips of the actual channeling session if you're interested in seeing what it looks like. They are on YouTube Shorts. I'll see if I can link them in the description. And if you've enjoyed this video, then please don't forget to like and subscribe and leave me a comment. Thank you so much for being here. I love you, and I'll see you next time.